Hey everyone, this is Jesse with Nintendo Revised, and I am coming back with another video, and this time we are going to be testing the physical version of Felix the Cat that was recently released through Limited Run Games. Now the version on the cartridge is 1.0.0, the revision on the back of the cartridge is 000, and at the time of testing there is no available patches, so the version on cart, which is 1.0.0, is the latest version, and this game is considered to be complete on cart. So for this test, I did complete the NES version of Felix the Cat. I also did complete the Game Boy version of Felix the Cat. And lastly, there is a Japanese version that is also offered here, and also I completed that version. So basically, I did test every game on offer here from start to finish. Now, during my gameplay of the NES version or Japanese version of Felix the Cat, I did maybe notice at least one or two slowdowns, but this may be also something that occurred back in the NES version, so to me, not a big deal. There's also an option for these two versions of the game to turn on or off deflicker mode. This basically turns off the flickering effect that occurs with these retro games. Now for the Game Boy version of Felix the Cat, there was much more noticeable slowdown, but considering the console that this was originally made on, to me this makes total sense. The Japanese version of Felix the Cat is exactly the same game as the NES version, but has cutscenes that play out in Japanese. That is essentially the only difference in this version. Everything else still remains in English, and that includes the title screen, the ending credits, the status bar on the bottom of the screen, etc. Basically, the entire experience is in English with the exception of the cutscenes, which are in Japanese. Now, this game collection doesn't have very many options, which personally is quite disappointing. So first and foremost, there's no option to change the controls within the game itself. I personally had to use the Nintendo Switch's change button mapping feature, which is under system settings, in order to change the buttons around. The game has it to where jump is set to A or Y, and the action button is set to B. Now, personally, this is not the way I prefer to play these types of games, so I had to change them to where B was jump and Y was action. Now, once I did this, I was able to play these games comfortably. Otherwise, I honestly was not enjoying the experience with the way that the buttons were set up. Now, as far as other options are concerned, there is an option to turn on or off the borders. There's only one border that is offered in the entire collection. There's also a CRT filter, which is offered for the NES or Japanese version of Felix the Cat. This can also be turned on or off, and for the Game Boy game there is an option to turn on or off the dot matrix filter. And honestly, this is pretty much it as far as options go. If you were hoping to have multiple borders, multiple filters, change control options, etc., you will not get that here, unfortunately. Otherwise, the games actually play fine and are fully playable with no major issues, and also I did not notice any input lag on my end. As far as languages are concerned, there is English, French, Italian, German, Spanish, and Japanese. Though I do want to say that these language options are only for the collection menus and don't have any effects on the games themselves. As far as difficulty options, there are none. As far as accessibility options, there are rewinds and save states that are offered in the collection. These features do work exactly as intended. And there is no DRM to be found, which is great. That means that you do not have to have a Nintendo Switch linked account in order to play this game. And I also did play this game in handheld mode on my Nintendo Switch OLED. So my overall thoughts. This is a great collection overall because at least the games do play as intended. My issue comes more so with the collection and the presentation of the collection. There's not much offered here. For one, I would have preferred to be able to change the controls in the game itself without having to go out of my way to go to system settings and change the controller mapping. I don't understand why that at least wasn't offered here. At least there is a workaround. It just would have been nice to have it within the game itself. The second thing, I don't personally like borders in my old retro games. I like to turn them off to have the black borders on either side, but I do know that there is going to be other players that would prefer to have a border, and to only offer one border is kind of ludicrous in my opinion. This is bare bones to the max, I think. Even though I don't personally mind owning this collection and I actually enjoyed my time with it, the collection itself is very bare bones, and I really think that they could have done much more. But it's fine. It is what it is. You're getting at least a fully playable cartridge from start to finish with both Felix the Cat and, of course, the GB version of Felix the Cat. So if that's all you're looking for, this is great. But if you were wanting more, unfortunately, you're not going to get that here. That has been my test for Felix the Cat for the Nintendo Switch. If you have any questions related to this test, please let me know in the comments section down below. Otherwise, this has been Jesse with Nintendo Revised, out.